You know how time feels sometimes? It speeds up or slows down. It's a weird thing, time. We live in it, we feel it pass, but it's not really a thing you can touch. It's not like a rock or a tree. It's just this flow. And your brain, it does a lot of work to make sense of it all. It builds your whole experience of time moment by moment. It's not a simple job, and it's not done by one single part of your brain. It's a whole team effort. Lots of different brain areas work together all the time to create what you feel as the passage of time. Think about it. You need to know how long to hold a note when you sing. You need to know when to step off the curb to avoid a car. You need to know if a minute has passed or an hour. These are all different kinds of time, and your brain handles them differently. It's like having a bunch of different clocks all ticking away, but each for a different purpose. Some are for super fast, split second stuff. Others are for longer stretches, like a whole day. One of the most basic clocks we have is our circadian rhythm. You know this one. It's what tells your body when to be awake and when to sleep. It's pretty ancient, built deep into our biology. This isn't just about feeling tired, it affects your hormones, your body temperature, your digestion. It's a cycle that repeats roughly every 24 hours, even if you're stuck in a cave with no light. Your brain has a master clock, a small group of cells in a part called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It's deep inside, near where your optic nerves cross. Light is a big factor for this clock. When light hits your eyes, signals go straight to this master clock, telling it if it's day or night. This helps synchronize your internal rhythm with the outside world. And if you ever fly across time zones, you feel this clock getting out of whack. That's jet lag. Your internal body clock is still on old time, but the outside world is on new time. It takes a while for them to line up again. This basic clock gives us a framework, a broad sense of time passing in daily cycles. But it's not going to tell you how long to boil an egg. For shorter intervals, your brain uses other systems. When we talk about processing time, we often break it down into different scales. There's the sub-second scale. This is super fast, like when you catch a ball. Your brain has to predict where the ball will be in milliseconds. Or when you play a musical instrument, each note has to be timed just right, often less than a second apart. This fine-tuned timing involves areas like the cerebellum, which is at the back of your brain, and the basal ganglia, which are deeper structures involved in movement. These areas are crucial for timing our actions, for making sure our movements are smooth and coordinated. They act like internal metronomes, keeping a beat for our physical actions. If these parts of the brain are damaged, people can have real trouble with timing their movements or even their speech. They might speak too fast or too slow, or their movements might be jerky. Then there's the seconds to minutes scale. This is when you're waiting for something or doing a task that takes a few minutes. How do you know when 5 minutes have passed? This is where things get a bit more interesting and more subjective. It's not just a physical clock ticking. Your brain uses different strategies here. One big idea is something called the internal clock or pacemaker accumulator model. The idea is that your brain has a kind of internal pacemaker that generates pulses, like ticks of a clock. These pulses are then collected by an accumulator. The more pulses collected, the longer the perceived duration. But this pacemaker isn't perfectly steady. It can speed up or slow down depending on different factors. And that's where attention comes in. Attention is huge for how we perceive time. Right? If you're paying a lot of attention to time passing, it often feels like it's dragging. Think about watching a clock, waiting for something to happen. Every second feels like an age. That's because your brain is actively counting those pulses from its internal pacemaker. It's dedicated resources to tracking time, but if you're engrossed in something, totally focused on a task or having fun, time flies. You look up and an hour has passed, but it felt like 5 minutes. In this case, your brain's attention is directed elsewhere, away from the internal clock. It's not actively accumulating those pulses, or maybe the pacemaker itself speeds up because of the engagement. Either way, the experience is that time has gone much faster. This is why when you're bored, time crawls. Boredom means your brain has little else to focus on, so it turns its attention to the passage of time itself. Emotions also play a massive role. Ever heard the saying, time slows down in a crisis? It's true for many people. If you're in a dangerous situation like an accident, things can seem to happen in slow motion. Your brain is dumping a lot of adrenaline and other stress hormones into your system. This heightened arousal, this intense focus on survival seems to make your internal clock speed up, packing more ticks into a real-world second. So, when you look back, it feels like that second was much longer because your brain processed so much information. It wasn't actually slower, your perception was just stretched. On the flip side, when you're happy or excited, time can seem to fly by even faster than when you're just engrossed. Think of a fantastic vacation. It feels like it was over in a blink. The positive emotions, the novelty, the engagement, all conspire to make those days feel compressed. Memory is another big piece of the puzzle. How we remember events shapes our perception of their duration. When you experience something new and complex, your brain forms lots of new memories. It's rich in detail. When you later recall that event, because there are so many distinct memories associated with it, it feels like it took a long time to happen. Each memory marker acts like a timestamp, but if you do the same routine thing every day, like your commute, your brain doesn't form many new memories for it. It all blends into one long, undifferentiated blob. So when you look back at a week of commutes, it feels like it went by in a flash, because there's not much new information for your brain to hold on to. This is often why time seems to speed up as we get older. As adults, our lives often become more routine. We encounter fewer truly novel experiences than we did as children. A child's world is full of firsts, first steps, first words, first day of school, first bike ride. Each of these is a rich, memorable event that expands their subjective experience of time. An older person might have fewer firsts and more repetition. This lack of novel memory markers makes time feel like it's accelerating. The past feels shorter because it's less dense with unique memories. The brain constructs what we call the specious present. It's a fancy way of saying that your now isn't just a single, infinitely thin point in time. It's actually a small window, a duration of a few seconds, where your brain blends immediate past and immediate future into a coherent experience. Think about listening to a sentence. You need to remember the beginning of the sentence to understand the end of it. You're holding a little bit of the past in your now, and you're also anticipating the next word. This is all happening within that specious present. Different parts of the brain are involved in this. Your sensory cortices, the parts that process what you see, hear, touch, taste, smell, they're feeding information constantly. Then, areas like the parietal lobe help integrate this information, giving you a sense of where things are in space and time. And the prefrontal cortex, that's the part involved in planning and decision making. It's always working to predict what's going to happen next. It uses past experience to forecast the future, even if it's just the very next second. This idea of prediction is really important for time. Your brain is constantly trying to guess what's coming. This isn't just for big things like predicting the weather, it's for tiny everyday things. When you reach for a coffee cup, your brain predicts where it will be and how heavy it will feel. When you have a conversation, your brain predicts the next word someone might say. These predictions are based on timing. If something happens faster or slower than your brain expects, it grabs your attention. It's a violation of the timing prediction, and your brain wants to know why. This constant prediction loop helps keep your experience of time feeling smooth and continuous. But what actually is the clock? It's not like there's a little gear and spring inside your head. Scientists think it's more about the firing of neurons. Different groups of neurons fire in rhythmic patterns. Some might fire slowly, some quickly, and the brain can read these patterns. For instance, in the hippocampus, a brain area critical for memory, there are time cells. These neurons don't fire based on a specific location in space, but on a specific moment in an experience. They fire sequentially, one after another, creating a kind of neural stopwatch for an event. Imagine you're walking a familiar route. Different time cells might fire as you pass different landmarks or as specific amounts of time elapse since you started. This creates a sort of memory-based timeline for the experience. Other parts, like the cerebellum, are involved in very precise, short interval timing. This is vital for motor control. If you play the piano, your cerebellum is making sure your fingers hit the keys at exactly the right moment. It's like a finely tuned instrument, ensuring your actions are perfectly choreographed in time. And the basal ganglia, which are deep brain structures, also play a role in timing, particularly for interval timing, judging how long an event lasts. Damage to these areas can mess up your ability to estimate durations. Someone with Parkinson's disease, which affects the basal ganglia, often has trouble with timing tasks, like tapping their finger to a beat. Their internal rhythm is off. The neurotransmitters in your brain also influence your perception of time. Dopamine, for example, is a chemical messenger involved in reward and motivation. When dopamine levels are high, time often feels like it speeds up. This might be why exciting or pleasurable activities feel like they pass quickly. Drugs, like stimulants, which boost dopamine, can distort time perception, making everything feel fast. Conversely, drugs that reduce dopamine might make time feel like it drags. Other neurotransmitters like acetylcholine and serotonin also play a role, altering the speed of our internal clocks in different ways. It's a delicate balance of chemicals that fine tunes our subjective experience of how fast or slow time is moving. And it's not just chemicals, our body temperature affects it too. When you have a fever, time can feel really distorted. Everything might feel like it's going too fast or too slow. This is because the speed of neural processing, the speed at which your brain cells communicate, is sensitive to temperature. If your brain is running hotter, its internal clocks might speed up, giving you a warped sense of time. So, you see, there's no single time center in the brain. It's not like the visual cortex handles sight and the auditory cortex handles sound, and then there's a time cortex. Instead, the brain processes time in a distributed way. It's an emergent property. This means it comes out of the combined activity of many different brain areas, each contributing to different aspects of temporal processing. Your prefrontal cortex helps you plan for the future and remember the order of past events. Your hippocampus is tagging memories with temporal markers. Your cerebellum and basal ganglia are fine-tuning your movements in time. Your sensory cortices are constantly receiving information that has a temporal dimension, how long a sound lasts, how quickly something moves. All these pieces work together, woven into the fabric of your conscious experience. The experience of time is deeply personal. It's subjective. My minute might feel different from your minute, even if both are exactly 60 seconds long on a clock. This subjectivity comes from all those factors we talked about: your attention, your emotions, your memories, how novel your current experience is, and even your age. Your brain doesn't just measure time, it constructs it. It builds your reality, and time is a fundamental part of that construction. Think about how our brains deal with different types of events. When you're watching a movie, your brain strings together individual frames into a smooth, continuous motion. This is a very fast, unconscious process of temporal integration. You don't see jerky pictures, you see flowing action. This requires precise timing at a very low level of processing. Your brain is constantly interpolating, filling in the gaps, making sense of the sequence of events. And what about the feeling of regret or anticipation? These are also deeply tied to time. Regret is about thinking of the past and wishing it had been different. Anticipation is about projecting yourself into the future, expecting something to happen. Both involve mental time travel, and your brain's ability to do this is incredible. It allows you to simulate future scenarios, to learn from past mistakes, to plan. This ability is largely thanks to the prefrontal cortex, which is like the conductor of your brain's orchestra, orchestrating complex thoughts and actions across time. It helps you keep track of goals, organize sequences of events, and inhibit impulsive actions to achieve long-term rewards. All of these are inherently temporal tasks. Even language is drenched in time. Tenses past, present, future are fundamental to how we communicate. Our brain uses the temporal structure of language to understand meaning and convey information. When you hear a story, your brain is building a timeline of events, understanding cause and effect as they unfold in time. If the story jumps around in time, your brain has to work harder to reconstruct the proper sequence. So, in simple terms, your brain doesn't have a single clock. It has a whole collection of them, some biological, some learned, some influenced by your feelings and what you're doing. These clocks aren't precise instruments like a stopwatch. They're flexible, adaptable, and easily influenced by context. That's why time can feel like it speeds up when you're busy or slows down when you're bored or scared. It's why a great holiday feels short and a long wait feels eternal. Your brain is always busy, taking in information, making predictions, storing memories, and all of this is woven together into that constant flowing stream we call time. It's one of the most fundamental yet mysterious things your brain does for you, creating the very framework of your existence. It's not perfect, but it works mostly, and it creates your unique experience of life, moment by moment.